Focus is your superpower because it doesn't exist until you focus on it, until you look at it. And that is why things want our attention. Hi, guys. So today I want to talk about how being able to focus will help you to be able to create the reality that you truly desire to live in. Many people think it's about being delusional, but it's not. It's really about just being able to focus intentionally on what you do enjoy and want to have more of in your life. So, first of all, why does focus matter? When you focus on what is going right, what is good, you are able to bring more of that into your reality, into your experience. And a lot of times, I even remember that I used to think like, oh, I'm delusional, haha. And people would call me delusional. And it kind of never quite sat right with me, but I understand why people would call it being delusional. Because looking at the definition of delusion, we have delusion is believing things that aren't true or having faulty judgment. Because whatever you're seeing in your reality is basically saying like you're choosing to ignore the things that are facts in your reality. But when you realize that you can become a deliberate creator, it doesn't really matter anymore what your reality is showing you because it's just the old playing out. And so it's not being delusional, it's about focusing on what you do want and seeing the good in every single thing because there is good in every single thing. And I know for some things that could be hard, war and violence and stuff like that. But there, even in that, there is something to gain from it. There is power to be gained. It can be empowering, and something that you can learn from if you choose to consciously always look for the good in everything. And let's just talk about training yourself to see the good. A lot of us probably grew up or just were around people that they would always see the bad or the negative because that was easy. Everybody can see the negative. Like it's just the default. It was really easy for people to see the negative in situations. And some people just enjoy being miserable and not really enjoy, but their body is so used to it. They're so used to always being negative that that is their default state. But you want to switch your default state. And I pretty much have always been this kind of person that's been very positive and always has seen the good in most things. But you want to be that person where every single thing you see the good. And it's not about trying to shove it down other people's throat and forcing them to see something that they don't want to see or they literally can't see because they're just not of that vibration. But it's about for yourself always seeing the good and focusing on the good in every single situation. I want to talk about shifting problems to solutions. So, immediately as soon as a problem pops up, the seed for the solution is right there in the problem. There are two ends of a stick, basically. There's a duality there. You can't have the problem without the solution. But the question is, can you see the solution? Are you of the right vibration? And do you have the right mindset to be able to see the solution? And maybe you won't see the solution immediately, but you know that because a problem was created, that the solution was also at the exact same time created, and that you can find that solution by thinking in the mindset that you already have the solution. That's what it really is. It's like you don't dwell on the problem and wallow in it. If you knew the answer to the problem and you knew you could solve it immediately, how would you feel? You wouldn't even wallow. You'd be like, "Oh, okay." Like if if this rock fell on the ground, I'm not going to wallow and panic and cry because I know all I have to do is pick it up. Yeah. And we're good. And so you have to think of your problems the same way. Problem pops up, it's like, "Okay, well, I know that there is a solution and I know that I see the good in this. I know that A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and that's going to help shift you into the mindset. So you either figure out how to pick up that rock or solve that problem, but you have to be in that right mindset to see the solution. And you can't think your way out of a problem. Of course, logic can help you, but it's really about how you feel about the problem. It's how you feel about the experience. And if you feel bad, you can't just try to think and force your way out of a problem. Or you can try to force your way. I don't know how quickly it's going to resolve or how it's going to go, but there's an easier way to solve your problems. And I think it was Nero. He said that consciousness is contagious, and it really is. So when your friends or other people around you are going on a negative rampage, understand that that can be contagious, that you could catch on to that. And then all of a sudden you start piling on about all this negative stuff about whatever is the topic that you guys are talking about. So now, whenever negative thoughts arise for me, instead of going on a negative rampage, right, because you build up momentum and you think of it as a train, and when a train is already going fast and you're going in that negative direction, it's going to be hard to slow that down and go back the other way. But it's possible, but it just takes time. So as soon as I now catch myself going on a negative rampage, I'm immediately like, "Oh, you're spiraling." And I shift it and I go on a positive rampage instead. So I'm going to use an example of a positive rampage. So I think I actually talked about this in another video, but I needed new tires. My tires were literally bald, and I set the intention that I was going to get new tires last year. This was 2024, but by the end of the year. And here was literally like 3 days before 2025, and I have the money to get the tires, and I called them to get the quote because I had got a quote before, and the price was a little higher than I was expecting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to spend this money on these tires, and they're so expensive. Even the cheapest ones, they're still expensive. Like, I might as well just get the most expensive ones, but this is just so much money. Let me see if I can find them at Walmart and get Walmart to ship them to me. Then I take them up there, and I'm just like, ah. And then I was like, girl, stop. First of all, you have the money to get the most expensive tires if you want, 4 times over. You have the money. But the old you that felt lack and like she didn't have enough and was in survival mode and always trying to make sure she had enough money to get through the month is popping out right now. And she's panicking a bit about spending this amount of money on something. And then I started thinking about how good it was going to feel when I got my new tires, whichever ones I got. It's going to feel so good to be driving on the road and know that I'm safe because I have new tires. It's going to feel like luxury buying the tires, knowing that I could afford them easily. What a blessing that I can afford 4 brand new tires all at once, because some people have to buy used tires like every other week or something like that. Like, what a blessing that I'm able to make this happen. And then I thought about the future version of me, the version of me that has, the millions, all the money that I want, and she wouldn't care. This is a necessity. Like, this isn't even like something extra. Like, you literally need, I live in Michigan. I can't have bald tires. Every time it's snowing or raining, I'm like driving all cautiously because I don't have tires that are really going to grip. And then I thought about the version of me that has my dream car, which is a Porsche Cayenne. And I thought about, girl, she would not care about getting new tires. Like, it's just a part of the whip. Like, if you had the Porsche Cayenne, which tires are you getting? Oh, you're getting the best. You're getting the top of the line. And so, after going on this rampage and thinking about how good it was going to I was going to feel when I got the brand new tires, I ended up getting the most expensive ones. And it felt so good because it was like luxury. And a few months ago, I had cleaned out my car. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but it's okay. I had cleaned out my car and I said, I'm gonna treat this like it's the Porsche that I want. And immediately when I cleaned it out, people started saying, getting in my car, they was like, "Ooh, this feels like luxury," because I had shifted the energy. So why not in this moment where I'm presented with the opportunity to get new tires, get whatever tires I want, or when I go back to my old ways of responding and panicking and feeling like lack, instead of investing in something that was going to make me feel safe and literally be safer. And that was the rampage I went on. And so it felt so good when I got those new tires and I felt so grateful. But that's just always a recent moment of where I had started going down that route and I shifted it. And earlier days, I probably can't give you as many examples because it was a lot harder to slow down that momentum. But now I've gotten to the point where it happened so quickly. I know if I start to feel bad for longer than like a few minutes, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on the fact that I got to spend $1,000? Or am I focusing on the fact that this is something that's going to make me feel more safe? Next thing I want to talk about is where your attention goes is where energy flows. People's attention span is all the way down thanks to social media. And there are so many millions of things that are trying to take our attention, because with our attention is our energy. And so we have to be very cautious about where we place our energy, therefore where we place our attention and therefore our energy. And so social media can really scatter your attention and leave less energy for you for things that matter. Last year was when I could dramatically cut down my social media time, and I got so much done last year. And I am going into the same this year and watching even less social media content, because I don't want to get caught up in looking at how other people are living their lives and not really living mine, because you feel like you're vicariously living through other people, but you're not really zoning in on your life and doing what you need to do for your life, when it'll feel like, oh my God, I have no energy left. Well, yeah, girl, you just spent like 3 hours scrolling and looking at your phone. And this is what I was telling my friend the other day. I said, you know how if you're watching a movie, you listen to a podcast, you could do other things, you could cook, you could clean, you could clean out your car, you can brush your teeth, you can do whatever. But when you're on social media on that phone, this is you. This is you. You can't get out of this, because you got to keep swiping. You got to keep looking. Like, how do you get out of that? So ask yourself, how is this helping me get closer to what I desire? And of course, we can all want to escape a little and watch some social media, but really be conscious of how much time you're spending on social media, because it's draining you. I recommend App Block, and I also recommend the app. I think it's called not Clear Space. Is it called Clear Space? Yeah, it is called Clear Space. Clear Space and App Block. Those are the apps I use to help limit my social media time. And eventually you just stop wanting it as much. Be intentional with your energy. Energy is your currency with God. It's a resource, and it has to really be used intentionally and wisely in order to create what you want to create. Otherwise, you'll just be lending towards creating somebody else's. And this is an example that I always talk about when I'm talking to people about their attention and what they're focusing on. Think about, you're in a restaurant in Italy, you don't speak the language, and they give you a menu, and you're like pointing at the steak because you don't want steak. You really want the shrimp, but you're pointing at them at the shrimp. You like shrimp, like, you're pointing at the steak. You're like, I definitely don't want this steak. Don't give me this steak. Don't give me this steak. The waiter, he like, oh, okay, you want the steak. She gotta want the steak. She keeps pointing at the steak on the menu. I'm not gonna think she wants the shrimp, which is over here on the another page. She pointing at the steak. So think about the universe the same way, in that it's not as much listening to our words, although it does listen to our words, but more of the frequency of really what's underlying of what we're saying. And that's why I'm very cautious of when I'm setting my intention. Like when you're manifesting certain things, I'm not going to say like, God, I don't want a broke man. Like, you're emphasizing the broke. So what's in your mind is broke man, broke man, broke man, broke man, broke man. So they're like, oh, okay, she must want a broke man. Like, let's send her a broke man. Like, that's what she keeps talking about. That's what she keeps dwelling on. That's where her focus is, on a broke man, and not on, I want a man with an abundant mindset. I want a wealthy man. Whatever. Like, but like, then you're shifting your focus, and they're like, oh, okay, she wants somebody abundant. She wants somebody abundant. She keeps saying an abundant man, versus saying a broke man, because that's where your attention is going. And you're going to call more of that into your experience of broke men or whatever it is. The next thing I want to say is, reacting the same way will keep you in the same reality. You have to make a conscious choice to react differently to certain things in order to shift into a new timeline, into a different reality, into experiencing more of the things that you really want to experience. You have to break that habit of reacting the same way. And you have to intentionally focus on the wanted reality every single time, because every time you're going to be presented with something in your reality, you can either decide to focus on what you want in your reality or what you don't want in your reality. And every time you focus on that unwanted, you're doing that pointing thing on the menu and bringing more of it to you, instead of focusing on what you do like for the menu to bring more of that to you. And practicing that makes it easier to stay in alignment. So the final thing I'll say is, your focus determines your energy, and your energy creates your reality. And so you want to intentionally get used to always choosing a better feeling thought, always choosing and focusing on the wanted. And sometimes people will make you feel bad for wanting to focus on the good or always seeing the good, but they're usually miserable people. Like, I'm sorry. If people don't want you to focus on the good, they're probably miserable. And it's not about putting a blindfold up. It's just about always seeing the good. It's like the glass half full, glass half empty thing. It's just what perspective do you want to take? And that perspective will then create the reality that you experience. And I was thinking about somebody might have said this example, or I might have thought of it, I don't remember, but the VR headset, right? If you have a VR headset, actually, I think somebody else said that. I don't remember who. But if you put on a VR headset, right, you have to turn to look at certain things, your focus. So, where is your focus going? Which way is it pointed? And recognize that focus is your superpower because it doesn't exist until you focus on it, until you look at it. And that is why things want our attention because that is when we give it our energy, when we look at it, when we focus on it. There was something else that I just thought about last minute and I just forgot it. But yeah, I guess that's it then. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.